Hi all, in this video we're going to look at the Ordinary Level 2019 Section B Question 3. This is an orthographic and auxiliary elevation question. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is positioning the elevation and the plan of this question. If we look closely at the question, we can see that surface A is down towards the bottom right of the object. So if it's down on the bottom right of the object, we're going to need to position our plan down the bottom right of our sheet. So the plan is going to be positioned in here. We know the elevation is going to be positioned directly above. So I'm going to go ahead now and start drawing in, marking off where the elevation is going to go. So I'm going to set up, this is going to be my XY line, that's my ground line. Okay. And I know my plan is going to be directly underneath that. Okay, so just at the top here we're going to write down some key measurements. Again, we're going to look at the width. So what is the width? The width is the measurement from the very left to the very right. Okay, so when we look in at this piece, again, if we look closely to our question here, if we look at the very left to the very right, we can see that the width is 95. Okay, so that's our width. Our height then is our next one. That's the measurement from the very bottom to the very top. And again, if we look closely at our question here, we can see on the left hand side the height. It is a height of 60. The next one we're going to look at is our depth. Our depth measurement is the measurement from the very back to the very front. Okay, when we look at our question again, towards the left hand side, we can see the overall depth measurement is 90. So now that we've got our key measurements, the next thing we need to do is start putting those into our drawing. So we're going to start off with the elevation. So the first thing I'm going to mark off is the height, and we know the height is 60 high. So from the ground, the XY line, I mark up 60 and I'm drawing a light line across. Next job we need to do is put in the width. So I'm going to pick a starting point on the width just here. I'm drawing it all the way down to plan because we know whatever width it is in elevation, it's the same width in plan. We've already worked out our width measurement. Our overall width measurement is 95, so I'm going to mark that off. And again, I'm drawing a light line all the way down. Whatever width it is in elevation, it's the same width in plan. Next thing we need to do is we need to leave a space between the elevation and plan. Again, at this stage, you should remember we just leave about a 20 or 30 mil gap. Okay, no need to measure that at this stage. Next thing we need to do is put in our depth. Our depth is 90, so I'm going to measure down 90 and again draw a light line across. So this now gives me the position for my elevation and my plan. Okay, we've got our width measurement, which is our measurement from our left to our right. We've got our height measurement here, which is the distance from the bottom to the top. We leave our space, and then we've got our depth measurement. Mark off the depth measurement over here. Okay, once we've that put in, the next job for us to do is to put in the different height and width measurements in our elevation. So again, if we look closely to our question, we'll see that we've got two different width measurements. We've got a 15 and an 80. So from the very left of the drawing, we're going to mark off 15 and we should be left with our 80. We're going to draw that all the way down from elevation to plan because of our same rule. Whatever width it is in elevation, it's the same width in plan. Our next job to do is to put in our height measurements. Now if we look closely at our question, there's numerous different height measurements. Okay, we've got the height of the steps, and then we've got the overall height of the back step there, which is 45. We can see from the front two steps they're 15 each, so that tells us that each step is 15 high. So we're going to mark those off then. We've 15, 30 and 45. Okay, so that is our different steps, and we're going to draw these lightly across. Okay, once you've that done, you've got most of your information that we need to draw in our elevation. Okay, we can start off by looking at our side part here and getting that drawn in heavy. We know that it goes all the way up. It's 60 up on the left hand side. we know it's going to be coming over our 15, and it's the same up on the opposite side. So that is the handrail, if you will, for the steps. And if we look closely to the question, we can see that the front part of this step, okay, the front surface before it moves up into the angle surface, lines up, if we follow around to the side, to the second step. So we know this is the second step, or second 15, which will allow me to show the heavy line there on our handrail. So that will show that we've got a front surface, and because of the heavy line, that indicates there's something going on between these two surfaces. Okay. Now that we've got that done, our next job is to put in the steps themselves. So I'm going to start off with the overall steps. We know that the full height of the steps are 3 steps high, so it's going to appear like so. Next job is to put in the steps themselves. But if we look at our question and look at our drawing, we don't have a measurement to tell us the front of this step, that little rectangle. We were told, we can see it's 15 high, as is the next one, but there's no measurement to come across. So I can't find out where these steps are to show off surface A. The only thing we do know for certain is that the third step up is the full length of our piece. So I can draw that heavy all the way across. So it's just this part here where we would see surface A. How small is the front part of the step, and how small is the front of the second step? So we don't know that yet. So the next thing we want to do is we want to move on to the plan. So we don't have this surface up here, surface A in elevation at the minute. So we're going to move on to our plan, and hopefully we will find that surface then later on. So the next thing for us to do is to put in some of our depth measurements. So again, if we look closely, we can see there's at the very front, we have a space of 15, okay? And if we look closely then, we have a space of 25 at the back, which is giving us the back step, and we've another 25 then for the second step. That leaves us with a 25 for the front step also. So all the steps are the same. When we've got that, we're going to draw those light lines across. And once we've all our measurements that we need now to complete the plan, excuse me. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start again with our handrail, maybe to the left hand side. I can see it comes all the way down from the back to the front. It's the full width. And if we look closely again, we have the 25mm measurement coming across here at the top. Again, just like we had here, before it goes from a front surface to a slope surface, we have from a top surface to a slope surface. So we know that that comes off there at 25. Again, changing into them, okay? So again, if we were to look at that, we would see that the top surface and this surface is the same thing. Next job for us to do is to put in the steps. The easiest place to start is with the very top step, because we already have that. We can see the front rectangle of it here. It comes all the way across. So from the back, it comes all the way across. It's down 25, just like so. So that there is the front step. Next thing is the part that's going to give us the information. We're told we don't have the measurement for where the surface A is, but if we look closely at the question now, we can see that there's an angle of 30 degrees. So if we look at that question, it comes from the second step, the back of the second step, and it comes down at 30 degrees. So using my set square, I can draw down at 30 degrees. That's giving me the angle line for this surface A, okay? It stops just here, just shy of the front, so it's the 2 steps deep. With that then, I can now draw in this front surface here. So I'll put that in a blue color there so we can see that. So that's the front step. And again, if we look now at the second one, we can put that in a red, so that will show us where it is, just there. Now by doing that, that allows us to complete the elevation. So if we look closely, if we call this point here, let's call it point 1. Well, where is point 1 in elevation? Well, it's going to be directly above point 1 here. So if I draw a light line up, I can see that point 1 is directly above point 1. Where is it? It's in the very front part here, the very front step. So it's going to be here, and it's also going to be on the ground. That point turns into a line, okay? So if it's a point in one view, it will turn into a line then in the next view, in most cases. Next one we're going to look at is the red line. So that's the front of the second step. Let's call that point 2. Whereas point 2, it's going to be directly above point 2 in elevation, okay? It's again the top of the second step, and it's also the bottom of the second step, okay? So again, the point turning into a line. So we're going to draw that in right there then as well, okay? So that there gives us the front of the red step, and then again we've got the front just there of the bottom step. So with that, folks, we've got the plan and elevation of this question fully set up. Our next job to do is to start looking at the auxiliary. So we're going to get started with the auxiliary then. So again, we know that surface A is just here. Okay, so we need to look in and see what that looks like. So for us to see, we're standing in here to see the elevation. We're going to now turn so we can look in from the side and see an elevation. So it's an auxiliary elevation. It's an elevation at an angle. So to start this, we need to come off here parallel to the surface we want to look at. So we're going to draw another XY line all the way out here. I'm going to draw nice and big. Okay, so that there we're going to call my X1, Y1. So it's my second XY line. So that line is the exact same as the XY line we've got here. Okay, so they're for all intents and purposes, the exact same line. Now that we've that, we need to see what this object is going to look like up here. But our rule applies in this question, the same rule that we have. An auxiliary elevation, okay, comes from the plan, so we look up the plan to find the auxiliary elevation. But whatever height it is in the normal elevation, it's the same height in the auxiliary elevation. So the elevations, the heights are the same, and we get the elevations from the plan. So this plan gave us the original elevation, this plan will give us our auxiliary elevation, and the heights stay the same. So before we go any further, we're going to mark off some heights here for ourselves, so we have them. So I'm going to mark off this height 1, which will be the blue step there. Okay, so let's call that 1. Next height we'd have, let's just mark them off out here maybe so we can see them. So the next height we're going to mark off will be the second height, so the height of the second step. So we'll mark that there in red. That's my second height. My third height then we're going to mark off here, which will be the top of our third step. Okay. And last but not least, we'll mark off the very top, which will be the top of our handrail, if you will, there on the left hand side. So we're going to mark off that. So that's height 4. So whatever height it is in this elevation, it's the same height in this elevation, so we're going to mark off those. So I'm going to draw my lines up, and again, whatever height they are, well, we know that the overall height is 60, and we know they're split up into 15s. So I'm going to mark those off just here. Again, whatever height it is in one elevation is the same in the other. So I'm going to go ahead and draw these again all the way across. So I'm not worried about where they're needed at the minute. I just know my rule, and we want to implement that rule to start with. So we get all those over. And again, I'm drawing them all the way. I don't know where I might need these lines, but we better have them all the way across. So once I've those, again, I'm going to just mark off my height the exact same way as I had here. So I'm going to mark off the blue one, just so I know the different heights, and so it's clear to us here. There's height 1. Next one is my red one, it's my second height. Okay, that's height 2. Next one is my yellow height, that's height 3. Okay, we'll mark off that. And last but not least, we have our green height, which is height 4. Okay, so now we've got those heights. The next job for us to do is to just try and find out where these points are on this height. So for that, we're going to start at the very front. We're going to try and find surface A to start with. We're going to have a look at how we would find this part. So we've got point 1 labeled here, so let's try and find where that point 1 is. So again, that's my surface A. So to bring up the points, I slide my set square over, and I need to now look perpendicular. So the lines will be coming up perpendicular to that line. So they're coming up at 90 degrees. Just like they're going to meet my XY line there at 90 degrees also. So I bring up point 1. And again, this is the beauty of having the height lines marked. Follow point 1 up. Where is it? It's on the ground and it's on height 1. So there's point 1 on the ground and on height 1. Problem solved. So I can find that, and I know that that is a heavy line coming straight down there. If we look closely then, let's find point 2 maybe. Okay, so again, let's draw the line up. Where is point 2? Okay, it's on height 1, and it's also now on height 2. So follow that across, and there is my other point 2. That's a heavy line there. Okay, so hopefully we can build up our drawing looking at this. We can see that 2 then gets connected to 1, just like it is there. So we're going to draw that over. Let's put that in our black pen there. Okay, so by building up the question, we're hoping that we'll be able to find the different parts. So if I was to take, let's say, this front surface here in blue, which we've marked off. Okay, so if we take that front step, is a blue surface, and we can see that we've already that marked there in blue. We need to try and find that surface now. So the next point we need to find is the other front of it. So let's call that point 3. So where is that? Look straight above. It's to the ground, and it's 1 height up. Okay, so let's bring that up. So here it is. Bring it straight up. Okay, making sure it's 90 degrees again. Find where it is. It's on the ground, and it's 1 height up. We know that. Okay, so there's 3. So that will allow me then to draw on those. I know that 3 gets connected to 3, and I know that 3 gets connected back to 1, and it gets connected back to 1. Okay, so that then lets me shade in this. So we know that the front line here, this blue line, is this blue surface, and when we look up, it's foreshortened. So we see the true shape here, but when we tilt it, it's going to appear slightly shorter. Okay, but that's that blue surface just there. So hopefully the colors and the numbers, I find the colors and numbers the easiest way to figure out what's what. Okay, next one we're going to look at is the red line. Okay, and that's going to appear as this red surface when we look straight at it. Okay, so the front of the second step. Okay, so we can shade that in there. So 2, if we call this, gets connected over here, let's call it point 4. Where's point 4? Let's look straight up. Well, it's right here. Okay, the bottom and the top. Okay, same as our 2s. If we follow that over, let's bring it up. So we're going to bring it up here, 30 degrees, perpendicular to our x1, y1 line. Where is 4? It's on height 1. I can see that. And it's also on height 2. I can see that. What happens? 4 gets connected to 4. 4 gets connected to 2 at the bottom. So that's it there. And 4 gets connected to 2 at the top. So that's that. Again, we can see that this is our red surface now. So it looks smaller because we're looking in here at an angle. So we see this full surface, but at an angle. So it's appearing shorter. Okay, so that's the next one. If we look then maybe at another one, so let's take the front of the third step. So let's draw that in yellow there. Okay, and let's call this point 5 and call it point 6. So where's 5 and 6? Well, look at 5 is directly over. Okay, it's right here and it's at the top there. Let's find point 6. It's right here and it's right here. Okay, so again, let's maybe put some shading on that. So this line here is going to appear as this edge up here. So if we colour in this then, this surface again is the yellow surface. And again, that front surface, the front of this step, is the exact same as this yellow line here, 5 and 6. So just like we did with the front of the other two steps, we're going to find the front of this step. So let's bring up 0.5. Okay, and let's try and locate where that is. So where's 0.5? Well, we can see it, it's on the height 2. And it's also on height 3. What happens? 5 gets connected to 5. So we join those down. Next one we need to try and find is the 0.6, the second one. So draw that light line up. Where is 0.6? We can see it is at the height 2. So follow that across, follow the point up. 1 point at a time, label everything so we don't lose any points. Second height 6 is on height 3. Bring it up, bring it across. There we go. There's 6. What happens? 6 gets connected to 6. 6 gets connected to 5 across the top. And 6 gets connected to 5 across the bottom. So again, that yellow surface here that appeared at the line plan will now appear as a surface up here. So I can see that surface just there. Okay, so again, hopefully you can start seeing the question come to life, the steps coming to life there. Next thing we want to do is we want to try and find out where the back of this surface is. So let's call this point, what are we at, 7 and maybe 8 now. So where is that? Well, 8 is directly behind 6. Let's put it on the inside. And 7 is directly behind 5. So it's just there. So it's the back of these steps. So let's bring those up. Let's bring 7 up. Okay. Where is 7? It's here. Okay. So that is on the third height. Follow the cross right there. Okay. Where is 8? Let's bring that up. Again, bring it up at 30 degrees perpendicular to the x1, y1. 8 on the third height. There it is. There it is. That's it, intersection just there. Okay. So again, hopefully we're making sense of this. What happens to the back? 8 gets connected to 7. Okay. What happens to 7? It's connected to the ground. 7 directly underneath it, just like we had 5 underneath 5. 7 is up underneath 7, so we can bring that straight down. Okay. If we look at our question also, we can see that this 0.5 would also be this front edge here. Okay, so we can bring that straight down there as well. So that is like the back edge of my piece. And what do we have sitting in here then? We have got our surface A. Okay, so we can shade that in here then. So let's put in an A on that. And again, we can shade that in. So now we see the true shape of surface A. So this would be similar to the last part in our orthographic question for a junior cert. Most of us probably did a rotation. This is the auxiliary format. Okay, so that surface A is that edge that we were looking in just there earlier on. But we're not finished there. We still have to complete the rest of the question. The last thing we need to look at is this handrail. Okay, and again, if we were to look at this handrail, we can see we've got this sloped edge right here. So this sloped edge in plan appears here, and it appears up here then as well. Okay, so that is a sloped edge that we can see in 2 views. So we've got the front part of this sloped edge, these points here, this rectangle here, and we've got the top, which will be at the back, and then we've the sloped edge itself. So we're going to go ahead then and start trying to find these different points. Again, I'm going to start down here. So I think we're on 0.9. So that's 0.9. Where is 9 in elevation? It's at the very bottom, and it's also right here in the middle. So there's a lot of points that might have the same point. But again, if we just try and do one at a time, we shouldn't get overly confused. So bring 0.9 up. Where is it? It's on the ground line. That's fine. And it's also on my red height. And it's across right there. Okay, so there's 0.9. Next point is the point beside it's 0.10. Where is 10? It's on the ground. And it's on the next one up here. Okay, in line with 9 on the red height. So I bring 10 up. Where is it? It's on the ground. Where is it? It's on the red height. Come across and we'll find it just there. So what happens? 9 gets connected to 9. 10 gets connected to 10. What happens then? 9 gets connected to 10 at the top. And 9 gets connected to 10 at the bottom. So this front edge we can now see here, which is this front edge here. Next 2 points are these points up here, which gives me the top of the slope surface. So let's again call these points, what's that, 11 and 12. So where's 11? Well, let's look right up. It's right here. There's 11. And where's 12? It's right up. There's 12. Okay, so they're right at the top. So again, let's try and find those, the top of the slope surface. So we bring point 11 up. Where's 11? It's at the very top. It's on the green line. Follow it up. Come across. There's point 11. Where is 11 connected to? Well, it's connected down to point 9, so I can draw that in. Okay, so that's giving me my sloped edge. Next point is point 12. Let's bring that up. Okay, 12 is directly above it. It's on the green height. Come across, bring it up. There's point 12. Where does 12 go? It comes back down to 10. Okay, and where is 12 also connected to? It's also connected to 11. You can see I'm still using my t-square, my set square to draw these lines. It's just the most neat and accurate way. So one of the last jobs we need to do is find the points at the very back of this handrail to know where their 11 and 12 are connected to. So if I call this point, what, 13, and the back 14. So they're right in here at the back. There's 13 at the back and 14 at the back. Okay, so they're the very top. Again, let's bring those up. There's 13. It's on the green height line, so it comes across, and there it is right there. Where is 13 connected to? 13 is connected to 11. That's done. Last point is point 14. Okay, 14 is on the green height line, so there it is, there it is. Follow them up. There's 14. 14, what happens? It gets connected to 12. 2 other points you have to look at is 14. It'll be right down the bottom, okay? Just down here as well. The exact same as 7 was at the bottom down here. Okay, so it's the back corner of that. Now the thing with point 14 is, can we see it when we look in here? No, this whole unit is in its way. So we should remember from our other questions that this then is going to appear as a dotted line. Okay, so it's a hidden detail that goes through this piece, okay? And that would give you 14 at the very bottom then as well, okay? Other one that we need to put in is 13. It gets connected to 8, so we've got this edge just up here. So there's that edge down there. Once you've that done, you've got the whole question fully done. We're just going to tidy up the bottom by drawing a heavy line from both extremes, just so we can see that it's not a mistake there. Again, just for clarity, we can see the green slope surface, and we can just shade that in there just so you can see that that is the slope surface of the handrail. So that is us finished with the 2019 Ordinary Level Section B Question 3. Hopefully this video helps you with your revision and your homework of this question. Good luck.